Good morning, good afternoon, good night. Welcome back to another episode of KimYaps. Hope you're all doing well. To begin to pull up a chair, turn your phone on Do Not Disturb. And this is probably this could be a morning walk type of pod. And now we have ads. Anywho, like I was originally talking about. Yeah, this is pretty much a late night type of vibe. Um, Driving, long road ahead, slow but introspective type. So turn the lights down. But today I want to talk about the fracture between men and women. And this is a series that I hope I can make multiple parts, but it's just something that I've been wishing I could speak about, but never really, I guess, had the time. And now that I'm in the South, chilling, not really chilling, but in my room in a dark corner, I have more time. But anywho, today I want to go over the massive, quite literally undeniable gap that men and women revolve around, or how we operate, why we keep on missing each other in the dark, why we behave the way that we do, why we often ghost each other in certain emotional ways as to want the other person to understand, even while not telling them, frankly, how we've completely forgotten how to love one another. So the first thing I want you to do is I want you to look around, look at your friends, look at your family, look at the current state of modern dating. It's exhausting. Everybody's tired. Everybody's frustrated. And I've been thinking a lot about architecture lately. One of my homeboys is studying architecture. Shout out Portland, shout out DA. But the type of architecture I want to talk about is specifically medieval architecture. So back in the day when people were constantly at war, they built fortresses, huge stone walls, deep moats, drawbridges that they could pull up at any second that they felt threatened. You built a fortress to survive. You built it to keep the enemy out. But here is the tragedy of a fortress. If the war ends and you never lower the drawbridge, you aren't safe anymore. You're a prisoner in a castle of your own making. You survive, sure, but you starve to death emotionally because nothing gets in. And when I look at the dynamic between men and women today, that is exactly what I see. Two massive, impenetrable fortresses built on opposite sides of a rather closely connected canyon. We are constantly yelling at each other from across the moat, wondering why we can't feel each other's touch. But we built these walls to survive the trauma of our past, to survive a toxic dating culture. But now those same walls are the exact things keeping us from what we love for what we actually crave. So let's talk about how we got here. The first brick in this wall is something we parade around as a badge of honor: hyper independence. We hear it all the time on social media: protect your peace, squirrel. Never settle. If he wanted to, he would. I don't need a man. I don't need a woman. I am the table, right? We have taken valid, important psychological concepts, words like boundaries, toxicity, and narcissism, and we have weaponized them. We use protecting our peace as an excuse to run away the second a relationship tries or requires us to look in the mirror and be accountable. We confuse hyperindependence with strength. But if we're telling each other the truth, or really if I'm telling you the truth, and I really want you to listen, modern hyperindependence isn't a strength. It's simply a trauma response. It's the armor of someone who is fundamentally tired of being disappointed. We think that needing someone is a weakness, but human beings are biologically wired for attachment. We are a interdependent culture, creatures, if you will. If your entire identity is built on the premise of I can do it all by myself, I can do bad all by myself, right? I don't need anyone. You are actively building a prison of isolation, and you can't experience deep, soul level intimacy. If you refuse to surrender your independence for interdependence. We live in this era of choice overload, dating apps giving us the illusion that there is always someone better, richer, prettier, or with less baggage, just one swipe away. So we treat people like commodities. We have a consumer mindset instead of a builder mindset. We expect a fully healed, perfect person to just arrive at our doorstep. Assembly required. None. We want the beautiful house, but we don't want to lay the bricks. So, how do the two sides operate within the broken system? Let's talk about the men first. Historically, a man's value was placed entirely on his utility. What can you provide? What can you build? How much weight can you carry without complaining? Men were taught that stoicism was the only acceptable, Lord Jesus, emotional state. You don't cry, you produce. You don't feel, you fix. But over the last 10 years, the script has seemed to flip. Society, and women specifically, started begging for emotional intimacy. Open up. Tell me how you feel. Don't be so emotionally unavailable. And men heard you. But there was a flaw. And it's a flaw because there's a massive gap in our culture. We demanded that men open the emotional floodgates, but nobody gave them a blueprint, a vocabulary, or a safe space to process those emotions. So imagine a man who's been wearing this armor of obsidian his entire life, and suddenly telling him to take it off and walk barefoot through a thorn bush. He doesn't know how to navigate it. So what happens? He panics. And that exact panic, that lack of emotional tools leads us directly to something we are saying all the time, the sassy man epidemic. Now, I can admit I've been Mr. Sassy in appearance before. Like, in truth, it's fun. I mean, like, and you've seen the videos, girls recording their boyfriends, rolling their eyes, giving them the silent treatment, matching the girl's attitude, tit for tat, being petty, storming off, or arguing back with pure sass. Really voguing, if you will, right? And we laugh about it, we make memes out of it, but if you look at it deeper, if you look at the psychology behind it, it it's a tragedy. Psychologically, passive aggression, which is what sass really is the language of the powerless. Historically, women use passive aggression because society denied them direct aggression and direct power. If you can't fight back directly, you fight back subtly. Today, men are feeling emotionally powerless because they have been told to drop their stoicism and that everything that they do as a man is toxic, but they don't know how to be safely, directly vulnerable. So they regress. They adopt the same exact defensive mechanisms that women use when they feel unheard. They get petty. They get sarcastic. These are the walls that our men are currently building. And now we have the same exact fortress looking at each other on the left and the right. So instead of the man now sitting down, looking at his woman in the eye and saying something with bravado and strength, hey, the way you spoke to me earlier hurt my feelings and I felt disrespected. Let's talk about it. Don't say that. He retreats. He makes a sarcastic comment. He gives her the cold shoulder for 2 days. And this is where the gap between men and women turns into that unbridgeable canyon. This is the death of polarity. It's a big word for Elmo. Right. This actually, see, I can't give it all to y'all. I can't give it all to y'all. But let's talk about this death of polarity, right? So, what is polarity? Polarity is the magnetic tension between the masculine and the feminine energy. And I'm not talking about gender roles or spiritualism, but actually, well, I am. I'm talking about energy. Feminine energy flows, fills, connects, and nurtures. Masculine energy grounds, protects, directs. and stabilizes. And when a woman is triggered, her defense mechanism is often to become rigid, critical, and in some ways, hypermasculine to protect herself. And when a man is triggered today, he lacks emotional tools. His defense mechanism is now to become petty, passive aggressive, and reactive, which is a toxic form of wounded feminine energy. And when both partners are operating, it's like I was saying, wait, hold on, what was I saying? But yeah, when both partners are operating out of their defense mechanism, the polarity, it flatlines. You know, the magnets repel each other, and women are furious because they ask for emotionally available men, but they feel like they got reactive little boys who argue just like their girlfriends. They wanted vulnerability, but they got pettiness. They wanted a safe container, but they got a storm. And the men on the other side are furious because it feels like a trap. The second, right? A man does show a crack in his armor. The second he expresses a boundary, cries, or shows his insecurity, he gets mocked. He gets called sassy. He gets told that he isn't acting like a real man. He gets the ick from his partner. And we demand men to take off their armor, but the second that they do, we shoot them with an arrow. So, of course, they pick up the armor back on. Of course, they lock the fortress. Of course, they would go into these random escapades of red pill theology where they would study Andrew Tate and worship him as if he was the second coming because he feels betrayed. You told him, don't be emotionally unavailable. And as soon as he shows his emotions, you tell him he's too emotional. So, how do we fix this? How do we stop missing each other? How do we love one another differently? We have to tear up the contract. We have to get rid of the program. We've been operating under a faulty system and we need to write a new one. So, first, we have to drop the ego and redefine with what real strength is. And this is for my guys. And I want y'all to listen to me to get carefully. I'm sorry, y'all. My mouth is very closed right now. I don't know why. Had a little wee wee accident. Not a wee wee accident. That sounds crazy. I hit my jaw. So I'm kind of like, blah, 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 right? But so emotional intelligence, right? What is that? It's not about matching her energy, it's about regulating it. And grounded masculinity means you can feel hurt and you can feel disrespected. You can feel deeply insecure, but you choose to respond with clarity instead of pettiness. You do not need to be sassy to be heard. You need to be steady. And vulnerability doesn't mean vomiting your unfiltered emotions and traumas all over your partner and expecting her to fix it. It means taking the lead in your own emotional regulation. It means having the courage to say, I am struggling right now. And things like, I need you, without wrapping it in anger or this droopy sadness. So drop the sass, drop the sarcasm, and be the anchor in the storm, not another wave crashing against the boat. And second, we have to offer unmerited grace. And this is for my ladies. If you want a man to lower his drawbridge and walk out of his fortress naked, right? And unarmed, you have to make the grass outside safe to walk on. Unlearning generations of stoicism is messy. When a man first starts opening up, he might do it wrong. He might sound angry when he is actually sad. He might sound petty when he is actually terrified. Give him grace. Do not weaponize his vulnerabilities. The next time you get into a heated argument, do not give him the ick just because you saw him bleed. You don't have to create, well, really, you have to create a soft landing spot for the emotions you begged for him to share. And if you punish him for his honesty, he will never be honest with you again. And finally, for all of us, we have to shift from the me versus you, man versus woman, us versus the problem is the way we need to go. We have to stop treating relationships like a constant negotiation of power. Love is not a transaction. You are not a consumer looking for a flawless product. Loving differently means realizing that love, real love, is triggering. And it's supposed to be. A real relationship holds up a mirror to all your deepest insecurities, your selfishness, and your childhood wounds. And instead of running away and calling the other person toxic or a hoe or one of young hoes when things get hard, loving differently is the key. And what loving differently means is holding their hand and saying, we are both broken, we are both terrified, and this is our first time here on this earth, but I don't want to leave you. And I think you don't want to leave me. We have to stop playing defense. We have to stop hiding behind our walls of hyper independence and sarcasm. Somebody has to be brave enough to lower the drawbridge first. Someone has to be brave enough to step out into the open and look across the canyon and say, I'm terrified. I'm scared, but I'm the one to build this bridge with you. I want to build this house with you. I want to build this family with you. I want to build this fortune with you. And I want you to let that person I'm describing, let the words that are coming out of my mouth be a representation of what you do in the future. I want you to let it be you. But that's what I've got for you today. And I want you to sit with it. Let it marinate. Look at your own life. Look at your relationships. Where have you built a fortress? Where are you being passive aggressive because you're too scared to be vulnerable? Where are you demanding perfection instead of offering grace? I want to hear this from you. Hit the comments, send me a DM. Stitches audio. Let's get the dialogue going because we can't heal a divide in silence. But you know we can do. No. Until next time, keep growing, keep building, and please give someone a little extra grace today. Jesus loves you. I love you only a little bit less. This is KimYaps, and I'm